What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Well, in today's video, we're focusing on Solana as it does appear that a breakout could be on the way very soon. So let's not waste any time at all, and let's get straight into today's update. So looking at Solana's charts, one thing we can see is that this thing has been giving us a very predictable pattern, right? We've been setting in these higher highs and of course setting in higher lows for this beautiful ascending wedge that we have seen over the last 5 to 6 weeks. But in today's video, I want to focus on the fact that most often, right, more often than not, over 50% of the time, we will see ascending wedges that are coming out of a macro downtrend break to the downside. Now, does this guarantee that we are going to see this thing break to the downside here? No, absolutely not, right? I mean, we see Bitcoin over here retesting its 200-week moving average, and if it holds this 200-week moving average right now and bounces to the top side, Solana's going with it, right? But the thing is, we have to understand that more often than not, we will see this thing break to the downside, and that's exactly what we're going to cover today, of exactly what I'm doing in the scenarios in which it does start to break to the downside. Now, looking at some of our macro indicators, what we can see is that it is also supported, right? A break to the downside seems somewhat likely at this point. The first example is that our daily MACD has been losing momentum throughout this run. Although we have been seeing this upward movement here in which we're setting higher highs and higher lows, our daily MACD has continuously been putting in these lower highs on this push to the upside here. And of course, as that is happening, momentum is waning, which seems as if we could get a bearish cross very soon here. Looking at the daily RSI, our daily RSI is in a similar position as the price. And although we aren't seeing any divergence, you can very clearly start to see this momentum shifting, in which it is somewhat plateauing out right now and seemingly very possibly rolling back to set in what is either going to be, another low or a bit of a higher low before a continuation to the top side here. If we go down to the 4-hour charts and we look at the same things, let's get the MACD pulled up one more time and we'll get the RSI pulled up one more time. I didn't mean to close them off. What you can see here is that we have also been seeing these strong divergences. Although we are starting to see, a little bit of a bullish pull here on the 4-hour MACD, we are still seeing, again, the failures, right? We're just seeing these constant failures to set extreme highs, right? As you can see, we're setting equivalent highs while setting higher highs. That is a case of a bit of bearish divergence. And then looking at the 4-hour RSI, again, we are starting to pull to the downside off of the same exact top that was put in, which just goes to show that momentum has not really changed. And although we are seeing an upswing here, this 4-hour RSI isn't really representing any type of growth, but more of a stable move, in which historically, from what I have seen, has sometimes led to us seeing these pulls to the downside, okay? So it does seem as if, personally speaking, that the majority of our indicators just give us a little bit of a sign and a reference that we very possibly could be seeing a bit of a pull to the downside, possibly even breaking support, because that is, again, usually what happens with ascending wedges coming out of these downtrends. So what does that mean? Okay, now still, again, there is a possibility of us breaking to the top side here, clearing this resistance and seeing a lot of growth. That is not what usually happens, but it is very possible that it will happen. So if we do start to make, of course, forward growth up towards this resistance level, I will let you guys know exactly what I'm doing. But until then, while it seems as if it's more likely that we break down here, let's talk about exactly how I'm going about it. Now, in the scenario and in the event in which we do see Solana's price breaking through support here, what I'm going to be doing is taking on my support level shorting strategy. Now, what is my support level shorting strategy? Well, something that I've noticed in crypto is that every time we have a structure of this nature or even a ascending triangle, something of this nature, what almost always happens is that the price comes down into it, we will bounce, resistance, break. Now, when we break, what I've noticed is that if you go back to history and look at the times that you've bounced off the bottom side support, those are the levels you are very likely to reach. I call them your breakdown targets based off of previous support establishments. Now, what it's going to look like for this triangle right here would be these two levels. I would say that once we broke here, it's very likely that we're going to retest this first breakdown point. If we lose this level, what is very likely to happen is that we will come back down to the next breakdown point. And it almost always happens, okay? Over the last 2 months, I have had 9 successful short trades off of this strategy alone, okay? And so what I would be looking for from Solana is, okay, when were the last times we touched support? Well, that gives us $35. That gives us $31, and that gives us $26. This is a possibility right here, this little touch, but considering it's very similar to this support establishment, I'm just going to consider those one, okay? And so what I would say at this given point is that if we break through this key level of support, be on the lookout for it, there is a very strong possibility that we first push to 35, then to 31, then to 26. Any of these can be the level that bounces us back to the upside, and do understand that, right? These are breakdown targets. So every time you hit a breakdown target, you very possibly might break to the upside here. But understand that if you lose one, it is extremely likely you revisit the next one and then revisit the next one, okay? So the way I'm gonna go about this is that I'm gonna monitor Solana. I told you I'm not doing any major buying while we are in this ascending wedge or ascending triangle, whatever you want to call it, ascending channel, etc., because there is a very strong possibility that we do break to the downside at some given point. If we are going to see parabolic growth, it's not going to happen in this channel. So I'm not too worried about having all of the buys in the world in here, because if we break the channel to the upside, there is going to be substantial growth from this point forward that I can still capitalize on. There is still the possibility of catching this thing on a breakout and still making substantial gains. So again, I'm not rushing any purchases within this channel, okay? But what I am doing is preparing for the breakout, and if the breakout happens to the downside, the way I'm going about it is shorting from the moment it gets a daily close outside this channel to the support level number 1 at 35.17, support level number 2 at 31.86, and support level number 3 at $26.96. In my opinion, this is the most effective way to be shorting crypto and taking advantage of structural breakouts that very possibly could lead to anywhere between 5 to 15% in gains. Personally, I'm a 2.5x leverage type of guy. Like if this was to break to the downside here, that would be a 10% fall. So if it happened on the 16th of August and we came all the way down to 35.17, that would be a 10% fall in the price on 2.5x leverage. That's right around 25% in gains off of the short trade. Now, do not take on short trades if you don't understand leverage or futures trading in general. That's not a good idea. But if you do understand it, this is one of the most effective methods, in my opinion, of seeing gains. And of course, I will be taking it on personally. Now, the way in which you can prepare for this is, again, just simply monitor the price here. If we follow a similar pattern as to what we did back here, do expect the price to revisit this support level probably over the next 6 to 7 days. And then from there, be on the lookout to see if we do start to get a bounce, of course, which would be great, to possibly even retest the top side for a 5th wave up, or if we do start to look like we're breaking, especially with Bitcoin losing its 200-week moving average, that would then execute some of these short trades, in which I will be trading again to 35.17 first, 31.86 second, and then 26.96 third, which on the final one, if for some reason we break all the way to the downside, I mean, that could be growth of, over 30%, which in my portfolio, of course, could be 90 to 100% in gains based off whatever leverage I do take on. Okay, so I just wanted to update you guys again, as we are getting a pull to the downside. The markets are looking a bit red. I wanted to let you guys know the strategy that I'm implementing for if this continues. Remember, I don't have a crystal ball. I have no idea what's going to happen, but a good trader doesn't know what's going to happen. A good trader is prepared for anything that does happen and can capitalize on it with confidence. And so I confidently set up these trades and these strategies so that if anything happens, a break to the downside, a break to the upside, a sideways consolidation, if anything happens, I can capitalize on that, make gains on that, and use those gains to fuel my long-term dollar cost average portfolio. So with that said, that's going to be about it for today's update. Of course, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did find it valuable, let me know just by liking the video. More people will see it and it'll help me out a lot. But with that said, I do have a Matic video coming tomorrow morning. So if that does excite you, turn on notifications when you do subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Peace.